Hey everyone, and welcome to the number two septic podcast today. I'm so excited to have Jackie Mendieta from Cisco Septic on the podcast. I met Jackie and her amazing family, many of her family members at a septic conference in Texas earlier this year. So just having met them and seeing their work ethic and then the way that they treat their business, I know you're in for a treat today. So I'm really excited to have her. So Jackie, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share a little bit about who we are, how we got started, and talk about the day to day, in the niche industry of septic.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and just to give a little detail and context for everybody, they have Cisco Septic has 658 five-star reviews on Google, which is the highest I've ever seen with the highest reviews. So they didn't get there by accident. And having those reviews being that high, so many of them, and such glowing reviews, is definitely things that they've done very purposely in their business.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from a marketing perspective, they're killing it with their business because of that and many other things they do as well. So just really listen in and what Jackie has to share because there's something we could all learn from it. So, Jackie, can you just start by telling me how Cisco Septic got started?
Sure. We kind of got into it, I guess, on accident. Um, we lived in West Texas before, and my husband was an operator driver for a porta potty company. Well, we left West Texas, moved to San Antonio, South Central area of Texas. And when we did that, he came without a job, actually.
Mm.
We were applying at other porta potty companies, and that just didn't work out. Um, but then he got onto a septic company here in the San Antonio area, and he hadn't, done septic before. Didn't know how to look for a septic tank. Didn't know how many chambers were involved. Very different from porta potties.
Mm.
Um, and so he learned. He learned working for that company, and unfortunately, the owner of that company got really sick,
Mm.
ended up passing away. And then that left us like without an income,
Wow.
on his part. And being in San Antonio for about a year at that point, it was a little bit scary because we didn't have a lot of roots. Not all my family was here in the area yet. And so we were like, what are we going to do? And people were calling his phone still, like, hey, I need, septic service. Are you able to help me? And he's like, well, right now, you know, I'm I'm not in the business. There's transitions happening right now with
Mm.
the company. And so they're like, okay, okay, we'll wait. So I was like, what if you just started your own business? Everyone just keeps calling you. So what if you just started your own, you know, septic business? And he was like, do you think we could do it? And I was like, well, I don't know, why not? And so that's a little bit of how he started. It after the initial idea of getting started, that's kind of when it was like, okay, this is a reality. Like, we got a little bit of pushback from trying to buy our first truck because at that time, my husband and I were still relatively young. He was 22 at the time. And so when he was looking for a truck, he was like, they're not taking me seriously. They
Wow.
don't want to run my credit. They were telling him that he didn't know anything about business, and how is some young kid going to be able to afford these payments? And so we gave it another opportunity. We went to another truck center, and the guy, his name was Chance. And we like to say, that it was a blessing because he gave us a chance to be taken seriously, and he helped us
Yeah.
make our first truck. It was a Freightliner truck, and it was 2,500 gallons, and it took a little bit to come through, and we got it. So that's really um, that stepping stone and that opportunity that they gave us. They even helped us match part of our down payment. So I just felt like that was more, God opening the doors for us. Like,
Mhm.
this is where we needed to go. This is he put in our path, like what we were going to be doing. And that's kind of from there, what took off. And so that was November 2017 that we started the company, and we
Wow.
are almost at 10 years now. We started with that one truck.
Amazing.
We grew to two trucks, then three. We sold one. And then now we have another one. We have two service vans. Um, I started in our spare bedroom, just helping my husband. I was still working full time, and I was trying to help him keep up with the paperwork. That was a nightmare because of he was very disorganized at first, and I was like, okay, we need to get better, processes involved.
Mm,
So I ended up leaving my corporate job. I did banking for 10 years. And I was like, okay, we're all in at this point. Like, this has
yeah,
got to succeed because now I don't have the comfort of a steady paycheck. And
yeah,
we're just, praying and trusting what God has us doing in life. And yeah, it's been great. From there, we've grown and grown our team to where we are today.
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
that's incredible. It's kind of like that sink or swim moment where you have no option. You're either going to drown or you're going to make it. Sometimes that's the best motivation to
Yes,
really push
yes,
forward.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that you asked about or you mentioned the reviews, and I think that just kind of, um, we've always just really wanted to treat this industry like how we want it to be treated.
Hmm.
When he started, with that other company, we saw how many other companies that had been around for years were taking advantage of clients,
Mm,
not pumping systems out completely. And, he was just like, I'm not going to do that to people.
yeah.
I want to make sure things are done, right and done right the first time. And so that, always stuck with us, the things that we would see, other companies doing. And
Yeah.
especially to older people who, can't go out and look at the tank. And I'm like, how could you do that to someone? And so that's kind of where our model of, and values came from, is just wanting to make sure that things are done right, how we would want them done for our home.
Hmm.
And, essentially treating our clients like family to have for many years to come. And
Hmm.
so that is something that we've put into, our employees, and showing them, you know, the love that you give, you get back, and it's just going to continue, to grow from there. So that's how we are.
So how do you teach that to your employees? I know you have a lot of family members that
Hmm.
work with you, so that probably helps. There's an extra layer of buy-in there, but how do you make sure that as you grow, that heart that you have for treating other people the way you want to be treated, how do you make sure your employees do that?
So it actually surprisingly is a little bit harder working with family than
Okay.
I expected. um, we've even had to let them go, and and then they've come back, just because we had such a high expectation and standard of
Yeah.
how we were doing things. And if they weren't, implementing that, then we're like, okay, well, I'm sorry, this is what puts food on our table,
Right.
and this is what serves our community. So you don't see that value, then, we have to let you go. And so we did. We fired a family, which wasn't easy either. But I think with really demonstrating to them um, how you treat people in life comes back around. And how do you teach that to someone who, at the time, like my family members, were a little bit young and immature? That's, part of also the reason to let him go, and doing things the right way. I think trying to level with them and give them realistic examples. So I would say, like, okay, you have a car, you go and get your oil changed. What happens if, they don't put the filter back, or they don't change the oil, drain it all the way? Now you're paying for a service, you leave, and then your car messes up. You trusted someone with your precious item.
Hmm.
Wouldn't you want to treat someone else the same way? They're trusting you to come onto their property, and take care of them because they don't know about septic. They don't
Yeah.
know what, it takes to pump it or to service it. So you're the professional in that, and you want to make sure that you're giving that lasting impression and advice. And I think giving them realistic examples of how what they do impacts them because they would expect the same, level of service in return. Um, I think that really helped in training and showing them. And then at the same time, I don't know, just the customers coming back and they just gained a sense of accomplishment and happiness every time a customer would be like, "Thank you so much," and you saved my day, and I love you guys, and I appreciate you. No one's ever given me that level of service. I think that helped them, feel a level
Mhm.
of accomplishment. So we're like, good job. You see how what you do makes an impact in someone's life. And so I know that might be, um, it's not an easy answer or
Yeah.
question to answer because everyone, is different. And we've had non-family members come in and leave as well. And that's just because they weren't um, upholding that same sense of pride and value.
Hmm.
And that's something that's, like I said, really dear to our heart, just to make sure that level of service. And I think it should be natural, it should be normal. But you'd be surprised at how much it's not. So that's kind of part of our training. They go through um, about 6 months, I guess, really before they're on their own in training. And as we're talking them through and watching them, then it's like, okay, now you did this situation, what could have been better?
Mm.
Um, what do you think would be like what we would do in this situation that you can improve on for the future? And so just those small coachings, but not exactly like putting them down, just more of
Right.
an encouragement and guidance,
Yeah.
I think has helped the team grow. And um, now I have two employees that have been with us for about 8 years now. So they're our longest, employees. So it's great to see that um, they're learning and still continue to grow with us.
Hmm. Well, I
Yeah.
love that you ask good questions. I think that's a really, it may seem natural to you or such a small thing, but I think when you ask your employees or the ones in training good questions, like how could you have done it differently? What could you have improved? How do you think we have done it? That's such a disarming way to not for someone to not feel like you're putting them down, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you're calling them to something higher, right? You're setting the expectation a lot higher. So I think I love that asking them those kind of questions. And also, it sounds too that you guys have not been afraid to let people go that aren't a good fit. And that's not easy. It's not easy when, especially if it's a family member or
Hmm.
if it's someone that you've invested a lot of training into, and then you have to go find someone else and start the training over. So it's not easy to fire people, to let them go. But
Right.
your company wouldn't be where it is today if you didn't have that standard was so important that you're willing to go through the difficulty of letting someone go and getting someone else to keep that as a standard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, was it a bit of a challenge? Yes, especially. um, one of the incidences, I mean, we tried not to, but it was around the holidays too. And so,
Mm.
knowing that they were going to be without an income and job around holidays and then seeing them at the holidays, there was a little bit of animosity for a moment. But, I had to be honest with them and tell them like you've got to compartmentalize and it is business, it's not personal. But at the same time, I want you to realize that if you're not meeting that level, that affects us in the long term because we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to create this as a legacy. We have a 15-year-old son, and while he's not exactly said that this is something he wants to do for his future, it may be one day, he's still got many years, to go, but a legacy either to pass on to him or even, future generations. But either way, our goal is still to serve our community
Mhm.
as best as we could, and letting them know that we, have those expectations. I think now anyone that comes in, they're like, oh no, Frank and Jackie, they expect things done, you know,
Mhm.
this way. And recently, my mom has started working with us in the office. And yesterday, she had some irate situations. And I don't know, I guess it
Mhm.
was a Monday. It was really hot here yesterday.
Yeah. Everyone's
And
more
so,
grumpy when it's hot.
yeah, I guess so. And I was like, I had to tell her at the evening, because I ended up calling the customers and kind of diffusing the situations. And she's like, well, that what could I have done better? What is it that you did that I didn't do? And I said, you didn't do anything wrong. Um, I think that they were just trying to get their way with you, and I think she was trying so hard not to disappoint us,
Mm.
as her kids, and she's trying so hard to keep that positivity and make sure that we don't get any bad reviews. And I said, Mom, you know, people are still going to be people,
Yeah.
and we will get, some bad reviews, and it just happens. We try not to, but you can't always control that. You're not going to give over to people just so that way they can, because that's still dishonest in my opinion.
Mhm.
Just trying to um, make them happy in the situation. But I told her, you have to learn to compartmentalize it too. This is business where everyone right now is going through something. It's like after
Mhm.
COVID hit, everything changed. And I said to her yesterday, fuel prices are up. It's summer. It's hot. Is there kids at home
Right.
that are driving them
Yeah.
crazy? They're struggling to figure out food because there's kids at home. There's just so many
Mhm.
different situations in everyone's life. But I said we can only control so much that we can. And there is other companies, if they would like to go with them. All I know is our level that we would provide them. We give them facts, and try not to overpromise
Mm.
anything, because we don't want to underdeliver on that. And she just had a really hard time with that yesterday. And I told her, don't take it personal. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, working with family in the office too, because I have the field employees as some family members, and then office employees as family members. And I think um there has been challenges for us growing in that. But I love it still. I'm so
Yeah.
thankful for the opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Well, and the best things in life are never comfortable or easy,
Yeah.
but they're worth it at the same time. So
Yes, for sure.
that's some really good coaching that you gave to your mom. And it sounds like you probably give that same coaching to other office staff members because it is hard to be in customer service. And
Mhm.
the guys in the field are not as much customer service maybe as the office, but they still are customer service. And that's an interesting part about septic work is there's the septic work, but then there's the people side of it and the customer service side of it. And I love so much what you said about to your mom to not take it personally and how you just never know what someone is going through. And I
Mhm.
think that's really wise for myself to hear and take to heart and everyone listening to hear and take to heart that if we just keep that perspective of if someone's mad and they're really like just emotionally charged, it's hardly ever about us. It's almost always about whatever else is going on in their life and we just don't know
Yeah.
what that is. So it's hard. It's hard to treat people well when they're not treating you well,
Yeah.
but you have to do it in business.
Yes. I mean, because if not, then if you take everything personally, it's just not going to be, in my opinion, just might not be very successful. One of the situations was a septic inspection that we did for our client last week, actually. And the sellers of the home went to the property over the weekend. And so we were representing the buyer in the situation.
Mhm.
And the sellers, I don't know who they exactly communicated with, but they said, well, the septic guys, tore up all the grass. Um, when they did their inspection, and now there's mounds of dirt. And my guys, and part of the training, we have them take befores and after photos
Oh,
because we can always look back at their work because people
yeah.
will say and and do things. Oh, they didn't put the water hose back. Well, I have a photo of the water hose is back. And on the Samsung phones that we have, I'm pretty sure you could probably do it with iPhone too, but you're able to put in your settings a timestamp when you take a photo. And so when they upload the photos, we can see at the time that they took that photo, and which technician it was that took the photo.
Oh,
So we have that timestamp details. And so um, my technician, he had the photos uploaded on the client's profile, and I pulled them up, and I can see where they made a decent attempt to put the soil back how it was. But when you have a conventional system that's 2.5 feet deep, that's a lot of dirt that you're digging up. And I know that there's some out there that use tarps to put down and put the dirt onto the tarp. We don't have that as a practice just because we don't want to mess with like soil aeration at that time. And I know it's not for a
okay.
long time that it's tarped, but um, we are able to uncover them and, like I said, cover the holes back up at a decent pace. Well, um, the sellers, like I said, got it back to the buyers about the soil disruption. So then the buyer calls the office and he's like, the grass was so beautiful. Now what am I going to do? You guys killed the grass. And we're like, hold on, hold on. Looked at the photos. I called the agent, and we don't typically communicate with the clients too much because in the past, there's a lot of emotions involved with buying and selling a
Yes,
home.
I agree. I've been
And
there.
so if I can communicate between agents as best as I can,
Mm,
those are my, go-to because
yeah.
they know the client. They've been, with them touring all these properties.
Mhm.
They've learned how to navigate those emotions a bit better with their clients. And so as a professional, we lean on them in situations. And so I called the agent. I said, buyers called our office a bit upset. I'm shooting you over these photos. My team did cover it back up. It just really needs to be watered. It's going to grow back. It's grass. And right now we've been getting a lot of rain lately. So I said it'll probably grow back pretty quickly. But I'm not sure what they expected when we were going to do the inspection. It's buried. We have to uncover it.
Right.
And so she's like, I didn't know you had to dig up the soil to do an inspection. So then I had to explain to her. I'm like, okay. And I try to give realistic, examples. So I told her, I'm like, okay, well, if you're buying a used car and you don't test drive it, how are you going to know how well it runs and works?
Mm,
You have to look under the hood, open the door, and check everything out. I said, you have to do that with the septic system. And lately, there's been home inspectors that are doing inspections and they're not uncovering it. They're just running water from inside the house and saying, oh,
mm,
okay, it passes, nothing backed up. That's
mhm.
not a proper inspection.
Right.
You have to uncover the soil and look inside the tank, sludge it, and all those steps. And so I said, of course, we had to dig it up. Um, so she as well didn't know that this was one of her first septic inspections. And so then that made me think, okay, how can we improve our processes moving forward? What are
Right.
some questions that we need to be asking in the office at time of scheduling? Are you a first time agent doing a septic inspection? Okay, here's some expectations so that now it can be conveyed to clients to avoid situations like this. So we were able to get that figured out yesterday, and explain, it'll be okay. My husband went out, watered the grass, and because it's vacant right now, he was like, it'll grow back, and I'll come check on it again in a few days. And so we're trying our best to be understanding and explain to them. They have said, well, you're going to pay for all new landscape. We're like, well, we're not going to exactly do that, but we're going to help you as best as we can to, feel more comfortable in understanding the situation. But we
Hmm.
do recommend adding risers because we'll cut into your grass again in a few years to pump the septic tank out. So maybe risers is going to be the best thing for the house moving forward after you close on it. So now that's a conversation that we're doing. I think it just goes back to educating the client and
Yeah.
helping them understand the situation as a whole.
Yeah, it's amazing how much expectations lead to a lot of friction when the expectations don't meet reality. So I think that's so smart. Even just something I'm just taking in and listening as a business owner, I think that's just a really good idea of making sure that you're really clear with what's going to happen. Because I think as when you're a business owner, you know how you do things and
Right.
it feels obvious a lot of times, right? It feels obvious that if they're going to inspect the septic system and it's buried, that they're going to have to unbury it. To us, we wouldn't even think to say that because it seems like anyone should know that. But,
Hmm.
if it's your business and you're in it every day, other people are pretty unaware sometimes. So, I think it's a really great take on a difficult situation is how can we grow from this? Not just, they're in the wrong and they have no idea what they're talking about and they're dumb, but how can we grow from this? I think is really great.
Yeah. And it's those situations that I told her, this is just it's just something that we're going to take moving forward and continue to help us grow and get better. What is the next 10 years going to look like for the
Yeah.
business? And, these are always, I take them as a positive because it
Mhm.
just helps us prepare more, for the future. And we've changed different practices for especially our drivers, to avoid like getting stuck. So tow truck doesn't go out. So,
Oh,
you kind of live and learn certain hard
yeah.
situations. Okay. Now we're changing the process and how we're doing it. So,
Yeah.
and I take them as a positive, and that's why I told her, I'm like, look, you're not going to make everyone happy, but if you take this and learn from it, and we just grow from it for the next,
Mhm.
100 customers.
Yeah. What's another example of going above and beyond, or if you can think of a recent specific situation where maybe another septic company wouldn't have done what you guys did, but you treated them like you would want to be treated? Can you think of anything specific you could share?
Yeah, of course. Um, I guess over the many years, um, and trying to, I guess, be different for the community. Um, we see so many situations, and like I said, right now it's just really hard financially. Yesterday, my husband went to a property. The client put on Facebook actually that she didn't know what was going on with her system. It has an odor. She doesn't know if she needs a plumber. She needs a septic. So I sent her a message and I said, hey, I'm one of the owners of Cisco Septic. Um, if you don't mind sharing with me some more details, I can try to help you so that way you're not paying a plumber to go out if it's not
Mm.
plumbing related, or you're not spending the money on a septic pump person if it's not septic related.
Right.
Again, finances, those service calls and stuff, they add up. So
Yeah.
um, I told her, after asking some questions, that, what, my husband's going to be in the area tomorrow. Why don't we do a service call to the property? She's like, well, I don't really have a lot of money. I just started working. I'm like, okay, well, we can figure that out. So he went, looked at it, and he thinks actually the pool company, she had a pool put in a couple of years ago, and he thinks that they damaged part of the line.
Oh,
But
interesting.
since then, she's actually had two kids pass away from
Wow.
different situations. And so she's just, her life has changed. What she bought a long-term investment for her family. The situation has changed recently. And so we just told her, okay, well, we'll offer payments. We may even actually, offer to do it, for free on her pumping and help her navigate this. But that's, the most recent situation that we're going through right now. They're going back out to the property today. Um, a couple of months ago, we had a client, older couple. Husband is on hospice care. Wife is just trying to get life figured out now.
Mm.
Husband's always handled everything, on the
Yeah.
home. And so that's kind of another hard situation. She called, the system was backing up. We went, we pumped it. We didn't charge her for the for the pumping, because she's already going through a lot. We've gone and pumped out another customer. The gentleman had ALS, and we had some ramps. My husband had a grandfather that had two amputated legs at the time. Um, we had old ramps because he was no longer with us. And we just took them over to the property and like, hey, we have these extra ramps.
Wow.
Would they be of help? And the wife just like broke down. She's like, my husband hasn't been able to go into the backyard and he loves it. And now, these are going to be such a big help for him to get to the backyard. And we ran into them actually a couple of months ago, and they're like, "You guys, just don't even know. It went beyond septic pumping, and I would have never thought someone would just gift us, some ramps so he could get to the backyard." And so we just, we're all human. We're all
Yeah.
people. Like I said earlier, just going through different life situations, and that's just who we are. And like I said at the beginning, I think that we were placed in this industry and called into this industry. And I think that God provides for us every single day. And if we can be a blessing in return, I think that's what ultimately He saw the heart behind that. And that's why we are where we are now. It's not always about the money, mm, it's about helping and serving the community. So that's just who we are as people.
Yeah. And you're in a unique position to be able to do that. When
Mhm.
you are able to interact with the community in a way that, few other can, I think, in a time of need. And that's one of the really, when you said it's not all about money, I think that's one of the blessings of being a business owner is knowing that you're providing, an income for your family, which is great, but then also for your employees, you're providing a job for them. But then as business owners, hopefully we all have margin
Yeah.
in our business and our profits to be able to give back and make an impact on the people around us. And I think those are the things that those are eternal, and they make it worth it, I think, too, when
Yeah.
you've got those hard situations where someone's upset or you have to fire someone. You need those good things to hang on to, and being able to give back to someone is definitely one of those highlights. I
Hmm.
think that's even better than having a lot of money because
Yeah.
money is great because it can solve problems, but it doesn't make you any happier. So,
Right.
yeah.
I know people have said that a lot of people that just have continuous, income flowing in, and um they end up saying like that they feel unfulfilled, they feel a little bit empty,
Yeah.
it's lonely at the top. I is phrases that people have said, and I think um while we're not, you know, the most richest out there in the world, I think our riches come back in serving and helping, when we can, and being that blessing during Thanksgiving. Um, we get together a lot of Thanksgiving meals, and we go and take those to our local school district.
Mm.
And so last year we did um, almost 200, I think, Thanksgiving meal trays. And so it has a gift card in there for them to buy a turkey, and HEB usually has a promotion where if you buy a ham, you get a turkey as well. And so we put that gift card in there. They can pick out their protein, and then in the tray it has a box of stuffing, box of macaroni and cheese, green beans, corn, and it has that metal tray you can, cook your protein in. So we saran wrap those and we go and take them to all the elementaries, the middle schools and high schools.
Mm.
Just so that way, during Thanksgiving, they have a meal to sit around, with their family, and enjoy that dinner and,
Yeah.
give thanks to what we have, and
Yeah.
our blessings. And Thanksgiving is big for us in our family. I think we use it as a time to reflect on things that have taken place throughout the whole year, and just show our gratitude for
Mhm.
where we are in life and what we've done. So that's why we like to do those Thanksgiving meals for families.
And do you get the whole staff involved in that
Mhm.
process?
Yes, it's all hands on deck. That's a lot. It's a lot
Yeah.
of meals, a lot of preparation. And we will all go out to, well, majority of us will go out to the schools and go and deliver those at the
Mm.
front desk. And it's amazing because the counselors, they really help us. They see those, children every single day. They know which families are struggling. And one counselor told me, and I think it's why we've continued to do it. She said that there's these little kids that weren't coming to school. They were coming, but then they would stop. And so she'd call mom and say, is everything okay? Do you need anything? We're here for you. And so she was really worried about the children. Well, when the Thanksgiving meal opportunity came up, she called, the mom answered, luckily. And she said, don't hang up, please. I want to give you something. It's a free meal. And so the mom stayed on the phone to listen, what was going on. And so she said, I'd like to come over and bring a free Thanksgiving meal for your family. If I can do that after school. The mom said yes. And it actually gave that counselor the opportunity to have an in-person conversation with that family, and it gave the opportunity for the kids to start coming back to school. And she, said it made a big difference. Just that giving allowed the door to be opened for a conversation to be had. And so I remember when she told me that story, like it just really, really touched me, because what I thought was just, us just trying to help, it actually went a little bit further.
Mm.
And like I said, everyone's going through something, and it helped in the long term for these kids to come back to school, and created that safe space for them to have that conversation. And I didn't think about, that it would do something like that, but I'm so thankful for that. And we've been doing the Thanksgiving meals now for about 6 years. So as we grow, we would like to touch um, more school campuses, and just create that opportunity, maybe for another situation like that, but ultimately
Mhm.
still giving back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just never know how what you do, like the seeds that you plant in the community, how those are going to multiply
Right.
even bigger than just the first thing that you did. Because I'm sure for those kids, having that consistency of going to school is and consistent meals at school is probably life changing for them.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's
But I don't know. I didn't think anything like, we're just a septic company.
yeah, yeah.
But, here we are. Like I said, just the blessings to continue to be a
Mhm.
blessing.
Yeah. Well, I hope everyone listening can get a feel for why Cisco Septic has so many amazing reviews. And it's kind of the almost the softer or more emotionally intelligent side of the business when you're talking about those things. It's not as much like, the technical part of it, but
Mm,
seeing how much that has impacted your community, but also just your honestly your bottom line.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know your numbers from behind the scenes, but I can just tell from an outsider's perspective, talking to a lot of septic companies, that you guys do very well for yourselves. And so I think in both ways, in both the sort of the intangible things and the intangible things, Y'all are doing very well. So another question I have with your
Yeah.
reviews is, do you have a system in place for requesting those reviews? How do you guys do that?
Um, there is um I guess a text message and an email that will go out after payment is completed
Mm-hmm.
with our system. We use Jobber currently, and so it has part of the, I guess, Jobber marketing tool
Mm-hmm.
to be able to send that out. So
That's
we
great.
started using it um, a year ago, and it's helped add on to, I believe, more the reviews.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, many of them were just organic reviews that were coming in.
Yeah.
And so I think it's helped still encourage the reviews to
Mm-hmm.
continue. Um, I we got a 4-star review last week, and I was like so confused because I read it and I was like, okay, well, to me, I'm like, okay, 4-star. Well, what did we miss? Like,
Right.
why didn't we get that threshold right? And so I emailed him back, just curious, and I, said, thank you so much for the review. Um, what else would have made this, the experience better for you?
Mm.
Where can we grow still? And he's like, no, I mean, it's a true 4-star review. You guys did amazing. I'm from the generation that, you don't put a 5-star because there's always room for growth. But honestly, you guys are just doing amazing, and I'll continue to use you for years. And I was like, okay. It just, messed with my head a little bit, but I
Yeah.
was like, okay. And my husband's like, honestly, it looks good because we have so many 5-star reviews, and not to sound, arrogant at all, but just we do. And so he's like, if we have a mixture of reviews, then they're organic. They're not paid for by any bots, or that we're paying people for reviews. They are true organic reviews. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's a way to see it. But I think, and there's, all my employees, they list their names and such, not all the time, but you can just see all the different names on there, um of the experience that they've had with each
Mm-hmm.
customer versus employee, from the office to the field. And we're just really thankful to clients for trusting us to service them, and we do, appreciate their feedback. But I think Jobber has helped as
Mm-hmm.
well encourage the reviews. Um, but we were getting a lot of organic reviews
Yeah.
before that too.
And it sounds like as well you've trained your team to introduce themselves and say their name, right? Because I know that seems obvious, but I think that's not always happening with other companies, that they're not making it personal. They're just sort of doing the work and maybe grunting at the person, nodding at them or something. But just going that extra step and introducing themselves and
Mhm.
making a connection with the customer on the field or in the office, I think goes a really long way. I have one company I'm working with, and it's a pretty young guy doing it, and so I've been encouraging him to answer his phone with the company name instead of
Yes,
just like kind of a hello. So,
yes.
it's just those little things that go a really long way. Even how you greet people, that
Mhm.
can encourage the reviews, and those reviews go the distance as far as helping you show up first on Google in your area and helping people choose to do business with you.
Yes, it's so funny that you say that because when my husband first started, he would answer the phone, not even lying. He would just say septic service, and that was it, and not say anything else. And I looked at him, what are you doing? Because I've been in banking for all
Hmm.
those years. I had, hello, and my name is Jackie, and how are you today, those
Yeah.
sort of mannerisms. And so when he was doing that, I was like, what are you doing? And so I was like, never, no, you cannot answer the phone like that. And in the beginning, when we first started business, we called around to see what other companies we had like a small group that we knew what they were doing, but we
Mm-hmm.
wanted to see ultimately like what everyone else's practices and what they were
Mm-hmm.
doing, what they were offering, um, and trying to network with them as well. And so when I would call some of the companies in the area, it was the same. It was like septic service or hello, how can I help you? Or, it was just so odd to me not to hear them say their company name
Right.
and their name,
Yeah.
and so I teach my office staff, I'm like, no, you answer, thank you for calling Cisco Septic. My name is so and so. How can I help you? And then I said, even if they don't catch your name the first time, when you're ending the call, you say, okay, is there anything else that I can help you with today? No? Okay, my name is so and so. Thank you and have a wonderful day. So that you say your name twice
Yeah.
because sometimes people don't pick it up the first time. You
Yeah.
say it the second time and then they'll remember the conversation that was had. And so now and client it does, it helps. So when clients call back in, I was talking to, so and
Mm-hmm.
are they available or, and I've taught my team to put notes in the client's profile. So this is just what I did when I was doing banking too.
Mm-hmm.
We put notes on the client's profile. So if you're out sick, out to lunch, out of the office, that person can pick up from
Mm-hmm.
where you left off. And so those are little practices that we do as well. But yeah, answering the phone, it was so funny that he was doing that. And we changed that for sure.
Yeah. Well, you guys sound like a great team, that you both needed each other's strengths
Yes.
and weaknesses, which is such a good thing. So do you have any other I know these things must seem so small and like of course everyone should do this, but do you have any other little tips like that with the name or anything else with customer service that you feel like sets Cisco apart that you're really intentional with?
I think for us, um, just aside for the other things that I went through, expectations for me, just kind of retouching that,
Mm,
is probably the biggest thing that I put into my office staff, when they're answering the phones. Because if we're not a good match for someone, that's okay. They
yeah.
can, find someone who will be a good match for them. But I like to say that we are here to offer solutions. And if we're setting good expectations for someone up front, then we understand each other clearly. And
Mhm.
so if someone is calling in for a service that we don't offer, then I will say, okay, well, I know of a company that does, and we can refer you to that, but our company does not offer that service. So making sure that clear expectation,
Mhm.
and then in that, providing that option, that referral, I think is important too. Whether it's a plumbing company, for a while we were referring out installers who weren't doing installs before, so just networking with installers, and setting those expectations. We've started now doing installs,
Mhm.
and so with the install part of the business, I've noticed that expectations was something that was not being put out there. Customers, I get emails and calls. Can you give me an estimate how much a new septic's going to be? And it's amazing because I'll tell them, okay, well, do you have a design for it already? Well, no. Can you just come out, look at the property, and tell me how much it's going to be? And I'll tell them, unfortunately, no. Our company won't do that right now because there's a lot of factors involved. It's soil that changes. Are you going to put in a pool? Are you going to put in, a guest house? There's so many different changes. And I said, and people that are just going out to the property and saying, oh yeah, it's going to be 5,000, it's going to be 11,000. I said, honestly, those are unrealistic expectations because they're telling you an amount so they can get the job, but then they do change orders.
Yeah.
And I said, we're trying to be upfront and transparent. I can help you start that process. This is a timeline. We'll go out, do a site evaluation. From there, get the design, submit for permits, give you an estimate. and then schedule for install. I said that's a timeline that will follow. And so setting those expectations, I think, especially now for this install part, has become a new interesting challenge for us. But I
Mhm.
think that if I can tell anyone else when you're doing business, don't give those false hopes because, again, you don't know what people's situations financially are. And even in pumping, we noticed there's a company that was saying, oh, yeah, all the septic systems, the pumping starts at 300, but then it goes up by the gallon. But they say that
Oh,
300
yeah,
to try to get into the foot. So
yeah,
someone hires them, they go out. Well, now the septic's empty. Those people feel, you know, binded to paying that
right.
person. And now instead of it being a $300 bill that they thought, now it's a $600 bill because it went up by the gallon. And so we just really want to focus on transparency and setting those good expectations. And if others in the industry, can start doing that, I think ultimately we're doing a better service for the community and even helping us. Ultimately, like you said, it's about trying to be profitable, right? And so we can be profitable, but also be helpful to our community
Hmm.
by setting those good expectations.
That's when everyone wins too, right? When
Yes.
the business is doing well, the business is profitable, the customers are happy, they're taken care of. I
Hmm.
think there's always a room to find a win-win when you're in business. And I think
Yes,
those are the businesses that go the distance, is they find a way for it to work for everybody.
I agree. Yes, absolutely.
Well, as we wrap up, this has been so helpful, especially on the customer service side. I feel like you've just dropped so many nuggets that um, I know when I met you and I met your son and I think your brother, I think I met a little bit of
Yes.
everybody. Um, but just talking to all of you, I knew that there was a lot more beneath the surface that you guys do differently. So it's been amazing to be able to sit and pick your brain and hear all those details. And I know our audience is going to appreciate that too. So so glad to have you on. But as we wrap up, if you could go back, I guess it was about 10 years ago, maybe nine and a
Mhm.
half years ago, and give you and your husband, if you can give yourself some advice back then, what would you have told yourself? Kind of what's your $1 million advice?
I know that him and I are very different. He's a risk taker. I'm very conservative
Mm.
and just, especially coming from banking.
Yeah,
But I would think I would tell myself, like, just continue to trust him and take those risks because they're gonna pay off. The reward is gonna be great. And just continue to trust the process and trust in God and everything's gonna be okay. So I think I would tell myself that, like, it's
yeah,
it's gonna be great.
that's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you, Jackie, for being on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was nice to see you again and hope we continue to chat.
Yes.